Greetings, friends and neighbors. Another short talk in the trailer with the old guy. I just got home. This is the first day of work I've had in like almost a month, I think. I think it's like 4 weeks ago this whole eyeball thing happened and the retinal surgery. Wow, wow. So anyway, I went in. I'm just not going to do all the medical stuff, but anyway, I went in and talked with the doc the other day, and it's weird. I got this little smudge down here, but it comes and goes. It's like, and it's not in the same space, same place that the original hole was. That hole was dark. I mean, you couldn't see nothing, and the dark was getting more growing. It was like, oh, that doesn't look good. Anyway, this is nothing like that. It's more like a smudge on a window. It's like, what is that? But then it kind of goes away. It's weird. Anyway, he got in there with this, with this magic lens he has on his head or something. And then they have that super camera thing. They stick your eyeball right and look at that thing. And it takes a picture of the inside of your eyes, like a cool machine. In fact, I asked the lady, hey, can I look at it? And I wanted to see what it looked like. I told her, it looks like sort of an electric jellyfish or something. I don't know. Interesting to look at. But anyway, the short version is, I'm on light duty work, and that meant I could do a whole day's work today on a Friday. I usually only work 4, but as it turns out, Monday is a day off because of the 4th. And by the way, I hope all of you in video land, wherever you are, YouTubers and YouTuberettes, yes, there's only 2 kinds. I'm sorry, I'm narrow-minded. And for you of the 2, I'd like to say happy 4th of July. And to me, it just feels kind of sad in a way that, I mean, with this traitor we got over here traumatizing the world with his idiocy, the poodle. You know why I call him that? I guess I never told you that. I call him the poodle because, as far as I know, I did a little research. I mean, it's very scientific and follow the science. And oh my golly, I saw a video today, by the way. Oh, that Fauci, oh, what a traitor. But anyhow, getting back to reality for just a moment. I'm sorry. I was thinking today that it's like, the thing is that it's good to be back to work. I really missed it. And the thing I wanted to show you today, by the way, you got to check this out. I warned you earlier in one of my earliers, and I'm going to call this a DIY also. So if you haven't seen my other vid, I set, what do you call them? Grounds. I'm grounded now on my work boots, and in fact on my good shoe. I could show you the good shoe. This, by the way, isn't a very nice looking shoe. It's like, hey, this guy's a slob. Well, you knew that. Hang on. Okay, so anyhow, it'll be easier to see, possibly. I don't know if this camera angle is going to do this job very well or not. But anyway, I got 2 leather shoes. The lowrider would be the one you wear to church and bar mitzvahs and stuff. The leather one, although it's supposed to be steel-toed, somebody doesn't like steel toes around here. I don't know who that would be. Anyway, these are Georgia boots there. Kind of like, I want to say $129 boots, but I always forget. I kind of buy a pair of boots every 14 to 15 months. But I think this pair is going to last me longer because I'm not exposing it to water the way I usually do by being in and out of muddy ditches. And it's that leather that just destroys, the water destroys the leather. That's more information than you needed. Anyway, if you want to go see what this looks like a little bit more, I never do give you a very good picture of it. It's not like I'm trying to hide something. It's just that it's so obvious. If you can't figure this out, then there must be something wrong between your ears. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying this is the simplest idea in the world, but it makes you feel so good. Anyway, today was the first day. This is the story I wanted to tell you. Kind of got sidetracked, sorry. He does that, have you noticed? I wore them rascals today all day. And lots of times, now this isn't always true. Now, the reason I wear Georgia is because I got done with Red Wing. Red Wing started manufacturing in China. The reason I wore Red Wing was because their boots were comfortable and they lasted a pretty long time. And probably that used to be true. But it turns out that Red Wing decided we're going to save a buck and we're going to have slave Chinese labor do it for us. And sometimes the Chinese have experimented just to save money. You know what I'm talking about. These prisoners are expensive. See, we can't afford a lot of frills and stuff. So instead of food, even oatmeal or gruel or some slop, they were feeding those poor Chinese prisoners sawdust. Yeah, maybe it'll fill them up at least. Oh yeah, it filled them up. And some of them became so constipated it required medical attention. I mean, it was like, uh-oh, you swallowed a 2x4, knucklehead. Now she's kind of stuck. and it's just a mess. Anyhow, I just wanted to talk about my new Georgia boots. They don't look new to me, pal. Well, it's this ground, okay? It's the simplest thing in the world. Take a look. That's copper plumber's tape. Go buy a roll at the hardware. Not that expensive. These are brass screws. I think they were 1.25 inches. Talk to your hardware people. They know what to do. Other side. And you want to screw it in a course low enough so that you're not going to be shooting it in where your foot is, okay? So this is down in the rubber, right? So now you're tagging, the name of the game here is continuity, right? Continuity, that's right. So here comes this rascal. Well, I kept her insulated here just because it wouldn't look so crazy. And besides, this is, what do you call it, stranded cord. It's not a solid core. So, in other words, I didn't want the stray strands outside because that doesn't do me any good. I want the stray ones on the inside, and this is where I'm going to show you the other shoe. And by the way, remember, this is not a great looking shoe. Anyhow, I got off of work today, and I had this idea. You know what? Instead of going and get a 6-pack of Corona, I'm just going to get me a quart. And I did that Corona Familiar. Muy bueno. It says this here, gringo. But the thing is that, hey, I wonder if I can get an endorsement deal. Anyway, me and Michael Jordan. Yeah, have a nice hallucination, Pops. So anyhow, these are the various components, and darn it, I don't know how I did it. I somehow lost. We have technical difficulties. What did I do with that? Oh, there it is. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things I want to go over with you. It's the simplest thing in the world. Now, in this one, you can actually see it a little bit better, I hope. You see how I gunned in below where I'm going to step, roll the corner, flatten it out, roll, gun, slap, done. Except here you got a little lug. I think it's called a terminal connector. And this is attached to the braided. You just spin the braided nice and tight, stick it in there, and roll it a little bit clockwise as you go, or whichever way you spun. And push it through, and then just get some monster Big Daddy channel locks and go, adios. You just crush that sucker, and that's all that. It doesn't require solder or nothing. These little rascals, I wanted to show you this. Let me see if I got a minute. Should have been ready. Should have been ready. This is a genuinely amateur episode, isn't it? And it's like I was thinking, hey, I could get business cards presented. I may be the world's first professional amateur. Think it over. Business card. I mean, who could argue with it, right? So, at any rate, this is the new one. I just have never stuck it in a shoe yet. These are the sort of things they sell at McCoy's, which is a lumber yard. You probably got a lumber yard near you. Very thin sheet metal. But the thing I liked about it was already pre-cut to an arc behind. And all I really wanted was sort of an anchor. Now, if you can imagine my hand is the bottom of the shoe, just slip this in under your heel. Then comes the braided wire. Now, remember, we took the insulation off once it gets inside the shoe, okay? So all the like 7 or 8 inches of insulation is just gone. And then you kind of make a mop out of it. You know, it's kind of curly cube, but pop right on top. Then on top of that, what did I do with that rascal? How did I? Oh my gosh. That's funny. I just had the copper one here a minute ago. Anyway, I did find some copper sheeting, and I'll show you that one more time. That's in one of the old DIYs. Well, wherever this made it off to, you can see I've been cutting heel shapes. If you can just continue this up. And it's like the bottom half of an insert for your shoe, you know, them spongy ones. This is a piece of copper. I found a place in town that sells copper. I work with a builder who does a lot of fine work, real custom looking, beautiful stuff. And they use a lot of the copper sheeting. Boy, that's some pricey stuff. Anyhow, there's the new one. Check this one out on the bottom of my shoe. First of all, it's cracked. I don't know if you can see the crack. Look at that. It looks like it's been through a fire. What is that? This is the side that goes down. This is the one that's up against my heel. What is going on there? And I'm thinking, well, I'm glad it's there. I don't know. But the point is, to ground, as far as I can tell, and I'm going to turn into the apostle of grounding here, brother. Amen. I'm going to start a grounding cult. How you want to join? In fact, I tried to hit up a couple of people at church. And for some reason, I couldn't get any takers. But anyway, the grounding cult. But actually, it's sort of weird because it almost has a kind of a quasi, what do you call it? Kind of like an occultic feel. People don't trust this. This sounds spooky, man. Are you going to bring up like UFOs next? You know, should I be wearing my tinfoil hat? Grounding is the naturalist thing in the world. And the thing is this. I remember as a boy, early 1960s, my old dad, he was born in the 20s, so he was in World War II as a GI, as a young kind of 20-something-year-old, I guess. So if he was born in 21, do the math. In 40, he was 20. Okay, I don't know how it worked. Anyway, he went in. He was kind of a teenager, and well, my dad spoke actually a fair amount of German, but it was what they called Low German. I don't know, low high. I speak German, really, and it's the worst. Stop that. But at any rate, I was talking about my old dad, and I guess I keep getting derailed. But the point is that I do that a lot. And so the thing is that I was just wanting to try to make it home to you that I've become sort of like this apostle of grounding, and it just makes you feel so good. So this pair of work shoes, now I've been in and out of these shoes. I think them rascals, they don't look new to me. I think I picked them up last November, but I'm not sure. It might have been more like August. I wish I would have written it down because, I do like to keep a pair of boots at least 12 to 14 months because they're expensive. They're like $140 almost with change, and if you want some insoles that you're not going to be killing yourself, get some spongy stuff. Something you can walk on. And so a lot of times I come home after wearing them boots 8 to 10 hours in a day because I work a lot of overtime hours before I became semi-retired. And, first thing I want to do is take them stinkers off. And I had a friend, Ed Carrasco, he'd say, them dogs are barking. And meaning that his feet, they feel like they're burning, they need to rest, they're too hot, everything's wrong. And it's like, get these shoes off of me. And honestly, now that wasn't necessarily the first thing I did every night, but it's fairly high on the priority list. I mean, it showed up. Definitely it was there. And so I just wondered, how am I going to feel after one day of this stuff? And I thought, I feel great. I've noticed I've been walking around with the sneakers, and I tell you, I'm the apostle of grounding. I just tell complete strangers. I just walk out, hi, my name is Mike, and I think you should ground. But anyway, the thing was, we got carried away. I did it again. The thing is until the early 60s or maybe mid 60s, by and large, grounding for humans it had never historically been an issue. It had never been, because my dad, I remember, all of his good shoes, as I just showed you my good shoes, well, he had leather soles under the ball of his feet. I remember he used to go getting his shoes fixed. Who repairs shoes anymore? I don't even know if it's still an option. Maybe there might be an old timer somewhere, but that thing's dying, man. Well, anyway, when you put a rubber sole, now you got an insulator. Why do they use rubber on electrical? It's a good insulator. In this case, you don't want it because we're in a bath. We're in a microwave and all kinds of EM radiation, not to mention solar radiation, and we got earth magnetism. I don't know what's going on with us, but we become voltaically charged positively beyond what would naturally occur in any case if we had been grounded. And we end up wandering around sometimes for hours a day, maybe all day, never once being grounded. So if you don't like my grounded shoes, don't. Just go get your own. Get some Harmony 783s if you like. There's a whole bunch of brands. Get you some good grounded shoes. I'm going to guarantee it's going to make you feel better. That's all. I'm not a doctor. I'm a plumber. But I just feel so, I don't know, it's like warm and relaxed. It's kind of like sometimes when you get out of a shower and you happen to, just stretch in there, it feels so good. I like to let that hot water bang on the back of my noggin and just kind of get all kind of, it's just so relaxing. When you get out of that thing, you think, boy, am I glad I did that. That just feels good. It sure was relaxing, and I just feel kind of refreshed, bouncing out the other side of the shower. Well, a little bit is like that. I mean, maybe it's not, extreme, but anyway, depends on how hot your water is, I suppose. But if you've been ungrounded for a long time, if you're a typical human American and you run around in rubber-soled shoes all the time and you don't touch earth, get out of your shoes, at least in the morning. Go out, stand in your garden or I hope you got some green grass somewhere, or go down to the park, find a park. But if you can get into moist soil, like right by the edge of a lake or a river, do so. Your heels and the balls of your feet, just stick it in that mud. 10 minutes, 15, I'm telling you at the most. And it's almost like magic. And you only need to do it about a half hour a day. But if you do it like I did, 8 and a half, because I didn't, never mind the time. Anyway, let's call it from 6:15 in the morning to, 4. So roughly 10 hours, kind of. My feet feel great. I feel great. and I wasn't in a huge hurry. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. This darn thing that fell out, I don't know where the other one went. I think I made a boo-boo on this design right here. On the option that matches with this inside the boot. Now it's a good connection and it does work well, but here's the problem. Here's your thing, and guess what? You're wearing socks because you're quasi-civilized. Here comes your foot trying to slide its way out. Wait, and it begins to tongue this thing out. I got my foot stuck in there. It took me about 3 minutes to get my foot out of my boot. So what I need to do is give this a haircut, shorten it up, round these corners with a pair of snips, and if I have to even do something with these edges that are a little bit raggedy on the edge, this is my first try, come on. But they work so good, and really the only problem, and this is really on the boots, because if you can get your foot out normal, like out of a low, or like a sneaker or that other good shoe, well then none of this problem goes away. It becomes irrelevant. So if you're looking with high top boots, or especially cowboy boots, where you don't have any forward give as you try to get your foot out, you might want to just make 2 discs. I'm just saying, rather than even trying to imagine a U-turn, because if you get into a high top boot that only you insert from the top, like them square-toed things, well, cowboy boots are this way, pull-on boot. If you got something like that and you want to ground, I think you want to make this tongue edge go away. It's because it's just going to piss you off every time you take your shoe off. You're like, what the heck? Why can't I get my foot out of there? It's like, I've done this before. And so anyhow, when you go out and get look at this. I got a quart for, I think it was $3.79. Look at that. You know, I'm probably drinking too much beer anyhow. What? Michael Egbert drinking too much beer? Never heard of that before. No, but it's kind of like, time to slow down, man. I'm getting old. Besides that, it costs a lot of money. I think it's 10 or 11 bucks or something for a 6. And I thought, well, I got a quart here for $3.79, so I'd save $6. And I don't need to run off and go get another 9 beers. It's sort of like one of those things when I used to drink heavy, I mean, every night for decades. As a Christian, might I add. But it was all a secret. I didn't have any friends. I've never had any friends. These people call themselves, I'm your brother. It's like, how come you don't know my middle name? Anyhow, I'm not trying to pick on Christians because I'm the worst in the bunch. You know, fellowship is like, why bother? I got invited to a, what do they call it, a small group at church the other day. I just kind of like, think not. Because you know what, I mean, it's just so weird when you're there. It's just like, my gosh, you know, you pour your heart out in front of these people, and not only is there no, hey, amen, brother, I'm glad you spoke, or hey, can we talk after? That was heartwarming. Anything. I mean, it'd be more like, can we at least get a blink of acknowledgement that someone's in there? It's like, am I dealing with comatose patients? And it was just so depressing, and I just thought, God, every time I come out of this, I think I want to go jump off a bridge, man. This is supposed to be Christian sweet brotherhood and stuff. I just hate to see what the depressing version looks like. Thanks, just the same. Ugh, liars. And so, in other words, it's this official propaganda, this phony baloney crap, where the church says, well, here we're going to preach the gospel. Did I mention the gospel word lately? Gospel. So what is the good news, church? That you should preach the gospel. And bring your friends and join the church. Gospel. And you should help us grow as a community and get involved. Gospel. To make this organization right here called XYZ Church at the corner of something and something become the greatest gospel mission in this city. Amen. Well, they'll never say it that way, but they don't have any good news because they can't remember what the hell the good news is about. They forgot the problem. It's sort of like, you know, the good news, bad news joke. Well, I forgot both halves. You know, it's a really lousy joke there. You know, you need to work on that. But in the good news, it requires bad news, which is go back and just listen. You don't even have to pick up a book. 2 Peter, beginning to end. YouTube video, if you speed it up like I do to 1.5 to what I'd call it a normal speaking, you can even speed it up to 2.0. Boom, 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 boom. Just listen to the whole thing in one run. Sit down, breathe. Go back, listen to Amos. Boom, 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 boom. Take you 12 minutes. Just concentrate, listen. Anyway, inundate yourself with the Word of God, the Word of prophecy, the Word that is recorded in the 66 that they say that they're all about. But there's a message in that book which sounds a little bit like the day of the Lord is dark, and it shall be a day of fear and destruction and fire and judgment from on high. Yea, the Lord Almighty, he comes in vengeance and in fury, and he shall trample the evil. Okay, now wait a minute, that doesn't sound good for me, because let's face it, I don't exactly have a saintly record. Not exactly, are you kidding? Could we get a little further from the truth? But he takes sinners, even as bad as me, and that means definitely you fit in. If we can delve as low as this guy over here, trust me, you're in. And it doesn't matter how bad you are. The worst thing is this: to go to your grave thinking to yourself, I should have looked into that Jesus stuff. A little late now, pal. And that's the problem, is in other words, when humans die, if they're not in the fold, if they're not in the care and the covenant grace of Jesus Christ, there's only one other destination, and it is dreadful thick. And to consider that real people that you and I know go there every day. And what does the church have to say about that? Isn't there something in the news about it? Yeah, there's something in the news. Messiah Jesus has come, and he's the only cure in light of that reality. How did they sell the demic? How did they market that? The thing, that went on, still going on, and they're talking about round 2 coming up. How did they sell that? Fear. Fear of what? Fear of death. Through fear of death, you were modified. Through fear of death, you were warped and twisted. And you didn't stand up straight and say, oh yeah, you want to threaten me with death and kill away. I love Jesus, and he loves me. He will stand me up, and his good pleasure. You can kill me, but you can't kill my spirit. Jesus says, I'll tell you who to fear. And you can fill in that. You go look it up. Jesus says, I will tell you who to fear. Go find the answer. And it'll clear up your head. It'll erase so much crap. Then all of a sudden, the good news makes sense. It was for this purpose, therefore, to shield a people who, richly deserving destruction at the hand of our Maker, righteously so, has spared them to the uttermost through the messianic coverage, the interaction, the mediation, the sacrifice for, the involvement with. Jesus makes all the difference by entering his own world. The Almighty steps out of the highest of the high into our world, into a darn stable. They wrap him up in a blanket and toss him in a cow feeder. Well, it's a nice work. Get some salt, get some shut-eye. Well, I don't know exactly how that happened. But in other words, in a very, very humble place. Now, the Catholics argue that it was actually a cave. I don't know where the ancient Hebrews used to keep their cattle. Go ask an ancient Hebrew. And does it really matter all that much if it's a structure made of logs and whatnot, or, as you insist, a cave? Why are we arguing about that? Do you believe in Jesus or not? Don't you realize how short the time is? So go get yourself grounded. The gospel of grounding says, amen. But grounded mostly in the truth of Jesus. Grounded in the fact that he's talking about reality. This is not a head trip. We're not talking about a hologram and a simulation. We're talking about the real world, and you're part of it. And unless and until you realize that, hey, wait a minute, I did die. Paul says it. But how did I miss that? I tell you, I've died. I'm dead, but I'm still alive. Well, how's that happening? Christ Jesus, he's, by virtue of him, I'm still here. Oh, so I owe everything to him. How obvious of me. How could I have missed that? Well, in other words, for that kind of transition to happen, the Spirit of God has to be at work. And we call upon that. We ask in faith for faith. It's okay to do that. But guess what? Jesus is the true believer. He believes, and he says, come believe with me. He's the true prayer. And he says, I pray, come pray with me. And he's still doing it, and he's still picking up people and changing them, transforming them day by day, more and more into the image. And so, in other words, this has turned into almost an evangelism thing, hasn't it? I started talking about shoes, and everything reverts to the ground. And the ground of being himself, the Holy One. He says, I am. And he's the amness himself, Mr. Am. And all that else is that you and I have ever seen or heard of might exist. High, low, or in between. It's what he's made through his astonishing ability and authority and almighty power through a preconceived notion of what shall be. Indeed, this very moment, right now that you're listening, it was known from before the foundation of earth that you'd be right where you're at when you heard this. I don't know how it works. He's a genius. But what he does is he actually invites us so that we begin to actually want to participate. Yes, you have free will. You may freely choose Jesus after he's brought you back from the dead. But if you're still a stiff, if you're still spiritually dead, you can't choose Jesus. Your free will, that's all garbage. It's hokey pokey. You're just chasing your own tail, man. Live it up until you get bankrupt and die. But he's the one who lifts us back up out of death. So go ahead, run your system as hard as you can until it collapses at your feet, which it must. And he's the one who picks us up. And we just essentially turn over. It's kind of like, here's the Christian life. All right, you guys, you want to talk about a cave? You guys are in a cave. See, you're surrounded. Yeah, well, we got feds all around you, and they got Tommy guns. Yeah. And so come out. We've got lights all around you. Cannot escape. Throw down your weapons and come out with your hands up, and then kneel on the ground and basically surrender everything. Essentially, that's essentially Jesus' good news. Good news is, if you will come out and surrender unconditionally on my terms, you shall live and you shall prosper. Otherwise, you is hammered toast, baby. Don't go there. You can't come back from that. And I would not wish it upon a human, except those two. We're not going there again. But anyway, get yourself grounded. You're going to feel better. You'll love yourself for it. And if you need help figuring this out, there are a couple of DIY vids out there in YouTube land that, sure, it's different ideas, but frankly, I like mine better. And as long as you don't shoot yourself in the foot with a screw, it's pretty easy. In light of all that, if you want to just do it the easy way, go buy some shoes, or better yet, put on some leather moccasins. If you'll just wear leather moccasins or leather bottom shoes, you're grounded. All this goes away. And I think that there's something about carrying this high positive valence, about 2.25, 2.5 volts extra. I think there's a lot of things in there that science and the experts, trust the science, have either failed to look at or refuse to consider. It's almost as if we're dealing with the occult. They feel like they want to, bring in the priest with the holy water. That guy's talking about the ground again. It's so weird. It's the simplest thing where it's like fresh air, good clean water, spring water come out of the earth, no fluoride, no chlorine, and good honest food. None of this, what do they call it, imitation meat stuff, with high fructose sugar, whatever that junk is they put in food nowadays. That stuff you wouldn't feed a pig with that stuff, unless you hated the pig. Well, anyway, God bless you. Get yourself something good to eat, something natural, something you like, and just cut down your portions a little bit. I'm not telling you to lose weight. I'm just saying, if you feel a little hungry when you walk away, just a little, sometimes you just feel a little bit more energy. Because if I get pooched out like, whoa, I just ate a cow, boy, I just want to fall over and go to bed. I'm sorry, lights out. So you don't want to do that in a hot day, because it just makes you feel weird. So get yourself something good. I like fresh fruit. Get yourself some fresh fruit. It's a hot day. Enjoy some with your girlfriend, and tell them all about those people around you, about the news as it applies to you. What good thing has he done in your life? How's he turned you around a little bit, so that maybe today, you're a little more open toward what's true and honest, without having to get all defensive and fussy and start getting outraged. I'm outraged. He's changing us day by day, conforming us more and more to the image. And it's a good thing. The more you become like Jesus, the more you become yourself, so to speak. I have a hard time saying that. The realist me is that me that's closest to Jesus. And maybe that's why I pray. Be blessed. Have a good weekend, and don't hurt yourself with fireworks. Don't do nothing stupid. Remember, first, do no harm. You guys have a good day.